Good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to see everybody here at the Orbis Pavilion. My name is Patrick Kyle, everybody calls me Paddy. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at the British Security Industry Association, which Orbis are a part of and have been for over 28 years now. So a little bit just briefly about myself and about the BSIA. So as Chief Commercial Officer, I've been at the BSIA for 2 years, but I've spent nearly 30 years in the private security industry sector. So I have a passion for everything that is professional security solutions and try to differentiate that. And I think that's the key aspect of the BSIA as well and its members. To differentiate, there are many solutions that can be taken from off-the-shelf solutions right up to high-end professional security solutions. And I think one of the key aspects that I'm passionate about is trying to differentiate what an off-the-shelf solution looks like and the expectations you can get from that versus what a professional security solution looks like and the response that you get from that. And that professional security solution, I think Orbis typify that with the amount of effort they put into their standards, their training, their people, their certifications. So I feel very privileged to be asked to be the compere of today's topic, which, as Paul alluded to, is around AI and the transformation of AI in security. So without further ado, I think what I'll do is introduce, or I will ask the panel to introduce themselves. So if we want to start, maybe the ladies first. Faye, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Paddy. I'm Faye Wilcock. I'm the Commercial Director for People Protection, which is our lone worker side of our business.
Thank you, Faye.
Thank you. And Sean Wilcock, I'm CTO for Orbis Protect, so I'm responsible for all technology AI strategy across the business.
And I'm Terence Hasty, I'm the Commercial Business Development Director for Orbis Protect.
Brilliant, thank you. So as you can see, we've got some really different broad aspects coming into this conversation from different parts of the business as well. So we've got 3 topics to cover mainly and then a couple of general questions. So it is a hot day, we'll try and plough through this as quickly as we can and make sure that we're competent in what the answers that we give. So we're going to start with the first question, which is around innovation in AI. And as CTO, Sean, if I could put this question to you, could you outline some of the latest AI-driven security innovations and how they're benefiting the business in practice?
Yeah, sure. So I think to start off with, I've been working with computer vision for over 20 years, and it's been really interesting to see how that's developed from the analog days where it was first of all motion detection. So it simply detected that there was motion, and it would cause events to happen, like a camera go to a position or an alarm arrive at an alarm receiving center. That kind of developed a lot into things like line detection, where people were able to go that bit further and start to say, either go from this side to this side or within this box and actually do some more smart things. And over the recent years, all the market has moved towards, I would say, object classification. So object classification, again, it allows us to do something really more enhanced than what we've been able to do in the past, in that we've been able to get rid of all the false alarms caused by foliage and animals and that kind of thing, and just focus on where there's people and animals. And that's kind of become the standard across the industry. So the whole industry is doing this kind of object classification, and on average, it's helped companies like ours about 60 to 70% to reduce those false alarms and actually deliver a more efficient service to our customers. But to me, that didn't solve the problem. There was kind of one problem remaining, which AI, that we're all hearing these days, has unlocked, which is context intelligence. So there's one thing showing somebody an object classification saying there's a cat or a dog and ignoring them. But actually, when you've got humans on site, the problem remained that the customer wanted to say, ignore the Royal Mail or the guard, but still, I want you to respond when you're seeing somebody doing this at these times and in a very precise way. And what AI has allowed us to do is deliver that to the customers. So we're able to define different personas using AI and give customers on a site-by-site basis what they're asking for.
Brilliant. And how do we ensure continuous innovation to keep up with the landscape that's around us, the evolving technologies? And we'll open that up to anybody within the panel as well.
So my job is to get the investors on board. So I have all these crazy ideas, and often I can just say, well, competitor A or competitor B is doing it, but actually the best way to do it is actually get our sales team to start telling us about customer problems, get the customers on board and start to listen to what problems they have. And what we do with that is I'm able to go back to the business and demonstrate by hiring a team and putting the investment in place, not just buying stuff off the shelves. We're actually able to start to build these things. So I started that 12 months ago. We acquired a company called Vigilance who were using some off-the-shelf technology from another partner. And we took that and went to the business and said, we can do this ourselves, and demonstrated it. And from that, we've been able to invest further and further. So our board has now got behind the vision, and we've been able to recruit an entire team and development team to enhance that.
Is that making the service more personable?
It's a USP for us, but it means that we can, for the first time, do something different than the entire market. So what we've got with our context, intelligent AI, is something that nobody else has had before.
Okay, well that leads on to my next question, which is, what is the next big development in AI technology, specifically within the security industry?
So people have seen what we've done, and they like what we've done, and it's starting to create more and more use cases and ideas. So even today, I had a lady who came and said, could we use this technology to, take the scenario of parents acting irresponsibly when dropping off the kids? Or another customer I had was saying, can you look at a skip and actually identify domestic waste versus commercial waste and things like that? So the best ideas are coming from the customers, but we're using that and we're feeding all of that into our platform. So there's a lot more to come. And as well, there's a lot of technology as well coming with drones as well. So one thing is where we get what we do with the data, but the collection of the data as well. At the moment, we're limited to things like the physical towers and the cameras, but with drones in the future as well, we're going to be able to embed the AI technology onto the drone and put them into different places, such as on the motorway. So rather than having cameras all the way down the motorway, which are expensive to deploy and maintain, you will see drone technology, which is currently held back by legislation, but you will see drone technology being deployed into the wider market.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. So just moving on, we want to talk a bit about protecting lone workers with AI as well. And just doing a bit of research before I came, one of the things that I found with Orbis, I'm not sure whether people are aware of this, but Orbis actually protects over 80,000 lone workers in the UK on an annual basis, which is a phenomenal figure and a big responsibility as well. Faye, if I could move to you with the questions around lone workers, could we discuss some of the latest technologies and innovations that are enhancing the safety of lone workers?
Yeah, so when you think of lone worker safety, you're looking at what are your procedures, your policies, what do you do to mitigate risks against your employees away from the office, or even while they're in a working environment, they're on their own. And you think about then check-in systems, buddy systems. Do you ring a colleague when you get home? Do you say, hey, I had a chat with them on, when they were driving in the back? Well, since those kind of systems have evolved now into wearable technology, so like what you can see on the back wall there behind, you can make them out. There's various devices that are available now to provide to staff depending on their risk profiles and their use case. So I'm sat here wearing an ID badge that, most of you wouldn't recognise as lone worker equipment, and that's designed that way to be discreet so that nobody knows it's there, whereas you might want a really obvious solution to deter violent, unwanted behaviour towards your employees, and then you go for something really overt like a body-worn camera, where it's quite obvious to an aggressor that is there to protect you, and that helps to de-escalate the situation. So there are loads of different technologies available, including mobile phone applications for those that don't need a device. So yeah, depending on the risks to your employees, which are always evolving and changing, then there's a technology out there to meet that risk.
Great stuff. We're staying with the technology side of it. You mentioned that. What did it look like a decade ago when we talk about lone worker technology versus where we are today?
Yeah, so a decade ago, you would have seen some of the technologies that I've discussed, but they were basic functionality, just like you've seen with how mobile phones have so quickly evolved over the last, even 5, 6, 7 years. That lone worker technology has then been able to adopt some of those things. So like your roaming SIM cards, for example, if you've got employees who are out in the sticks, middle of nowhere, or even work in countryside areas, rural places, previously they wouldn't have been able to benefit from a lone worker system using mobile technology because they just couldn't get the coverage. Now it's quite standard to provide a roaming SIM card within a lone worker solution. And now actually something we're exploring is the use of eSIMs within, you get a new mobile phone at the moment, you'll see you don't get a SIM card anymore, you get an eSIM. Now we're looking at rolling out eSIMs in mobile phone apps. So we've got a mobile phone app, and you can also benefit from having a roaming network. So there's all sorts of technologies that generally come from the mobile phone networks that we can then look to provide to our users. Again, 4G technology is a great example of that. When lone worker technology was first launched, when I started it, so say 14 years ago, my first experience in it was 2G connectivity, which has its strengths and its weaknesses, but for those of you that are in the know on those things, that technology is going to be phased out by the government in the next couple of years. So 4G, even 5G technology will then be the way forward for the lone worker market.
Yeah, thank you. And just touching, it sounds as though you've already touched into the next question as well, which was more about what customers increasingly requesting from you guys, and from a lone worker perspective, and what role could AI potentially play in that future?
So much like Sean said, what I like to do with our customers is be led by the customer and what those requirements are, and really understanding what risks do they face and how can we develop intuitive solutions that the staff want to use, they're engaged with, and that also delivers value to them. So the good use of technology could then start figuring out what predictive behaviours we can use, how can we understand their working patterns, what scenarios do they go into, and then start developing technology that means that they don't need to do anything with their lone worker system, they simply need to have it with them, and the technology and the use of AI then becomes intuitive. That's where I'd really like to see us using the technology available to us.
Terence, you're nodding. Would you like to add anything to that?
I'm just agreeing with Faye's sentiment. I think, like with any technology that comes into any industry, it's all about making life easier for the people who are utilising it. So the more advancements we can see and the more pioneering we can be with these types of technology, the more we have to offer.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Faye, on that. So the third question, or the third topic that we wanted to talk about was integrating AI solutions into client strategies, which is, for me, a real consultative piece of work to be done. So Terence, turning to you, from a business development standpoint, what are clients most concerned about when AI integration when AI is integrated into their security strategies?
I think, like with anything, when dealing with clients, when it's something new into the marketplace and something that's not necessarily completely understood, and I think I include myself in this, none of us thoroughly understand AI, apart from maybe the likes of Sean and those who are on the forefront of the technology, it creates an element of nervousness. So there's three things that we always try to address: trust, cost, and complexity. If we can focus on those three things with clients and bring them around to understanding that none of those things will be a huge problem, then we tend to get the buy-in. The reality being that the AI solutions that we are now offering are offering cost reductions and a big increase in peace of mind as well. And it's not to take over existing security solutions, it's purely to complement them and create a better solution for the client base.
Yeah. Okay, well, how do you effectively communicate that value of AI-driven solutions to new or very skeptical clients?
Well, again, it's like anything, the proof of the pudding's always in the eating. So we've become very adept at being able to demonstrate the capabilities. We've allowed clients to have trials of the technology with their existing security solutions. And I sort of touch on the point that I made earlier. You might have a very robust and adequate security solution by way of traditional towers or security in residence, which is perfect in many scenarios. What this type of technology can do when we introduce it is to just make it more robust and also reduce things like false alarms, and therefore make life easier for the client and, well, generally just make the all-round solution a bit better. Then there's a knock-on effect of that as well, because if there's reduced alarm activations and so on and less call-outs, We can also then demonstrate to the clients that there's ESG benefits as well, which is huge and not necessarily one that's always thought about. So when we package all this together and actually show it in practice, that's how we start to build that trust and get the buy-in into the technology.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. And can you provide any recent examples of how AI solutions have transformed a client's security approach?
To think of a most recent one, and I won't name names because I don't know whether I necessarily can, but we dealt with an organisation recently who are industrial and logistics client, large void property in the Midlands. We've had traditional solutions there for a long period of time there. Now we've had security in residence and traditional CCTV towers. But we were seeing an increase in false activations due to a new road, and the traffic coming through was causing issues there. With the AI technology being able to identify what kind of vehicles were actually coming through and via the site, we were able to reduce those false alarms because they knew that this is a car on road X or this is a delivery vehicle, whatever it may be, and therefore solve a problem that we hadn't always had on that site that had then come about.
Brilliant, brilliant, thank you. So just a few general questions. So to all of the panel, what's your advice for businesses concerned about the ethics and responsibility of deploying AI solutions?
Ask the right questions. I think if you're concerned about anything on those fronts, I guess trust that not just us, but most companies would not bring something to the market that was in contradiction to any legislation or was doing anything unethical. And if you have those concerns, just share them, ask the right questions, and we'll always be fully transparent.
Yeah, and I think one, we want to be a trusted partner. We're spending nearly as much effort and time in the legislation side of this and the legal advice and doing all the right sort of governance around DPIAs and privacy agreements, etc. We're putting all the effort in so that our customers have that level of trust with us, but also the customers that we're working with, we're also working with their governance teams as well, and we're kind of working with them, advising them. It's important to have that relationship. AI is still quite early, and a lot of the legislation is still working through, but I think trust is a fundamental part of this.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Faye, anything to add to that one? Or are we good?
Mirror what they said. I know what you're trying to do there, Paddy.
Okay, that's fine. So listen, just one of the things with regards to the AI landscape, I mentioned earlier that the BSIA and Orbis being an active member in that. So AI predominantly changed there was a step change with it in October 2022. And over the last 18 months, it certainly started to accelerate both technology and governance. And trust is a key part in this, and it's great to see Orbis constantly. This is a theme throughout all of these questions I'm picking up, that trust and consultation is a massive thing in that as well. So just moving on, AI fatigue, even though I'm saying that it's only about 18 months into that, is becoming increasingly common. It's a word that we know, a couple of letters. It's a very wide, broad spectrum, and we're already at a point where we feel as though AI is almost being thrown at us on a daily basis. So for you guys, how should businesses approach the adoption of AI to ensure it continues to deliver genuine value?
I think first of all, it's a bit like other kind of trend words like cloud and IoT. These words come about, and there are a lot of things fall under the umbrella. I think first of all, we need to understand exactly what it is that we're talking about when we're talking about different use cases or different types of the technology. AI it's a broad spectrum that covers a lot of different things. So it's really just understanding specifically which type of AI we're actually talking about here. Yeah. Okay,
brilliant. And finally, the last question from myself is, how do you see AI reshaping security practices and business strategies in the next 5 years?
I think so. For a business like ours on the security side, it's only going to become a more vital tool. It's not going anywhere. I think businesses of all kinds have to make sure that they utilize it in the right ways and move with the times, because like with any technological advancement, you can very quickly get left behind. For us, I think with the team that we've got, we'll always listen to the client feedback that we get and how we can then take what their requirements are and the challenges they have and then feed it back into the research and development. And as long as we keep doing that, and all other companies keep doing that, then we'll be on the right side of it. Obviously, there will be those who use AI for the wrong reasons in other facets of life, but for a business like ours, it's only going to be a tool for good, isn't it?
Yeah, and we use it as an assistance tool. We don't, our AI runs side by side to our alarm operators. It allows them to get that second opinion on things, or just when boy who cried wolf, when you've got a site where there is bad weather, it helps them through them kind of those days or those moments where there are a lot of false alarms that might be coming into the system. AI offers that assistance and that kind of that second opinion. But I think for a long time our approach will be that that it will be used as an assistance rather. Because one of the big fears is AI is going to take my job. I don't see that. It's going to help people do the job better. It's going to take the mundane parts of their job, but the job is still, that human decision is always the final decision. Yeah.
That is a great philosophy to have, and it's an industry philosophy as well when it comes to AI. We have this saying, human in and human out. So it's great that Orbis have that approach at this stage and continuing to keep that philosophy as they go forward. Faye, from a customer interaction point of view, where do you think it'll be in 5 years? Can you see it becoming more demanding, more intelligence-led?
For the people protection side particularly, we want to be careful to make sure that human in, human out message is clear, because we're dealing with people's lives. Ultimately, that is the most important thing to focus on when we're protecting anything. Human life is the most valuable. So there is always a natural resistance or cautiousness to bringing AI in where people are concerned. We want those decisions to be made by other people, but if we use the tools in the right way, that can enhance and help their decision making in certain scenarios to eliminate false alarms or to speed up the process of getting help. So he's using the AI available to us for the greater good. We need to really engage our customers on that and how their end users feel about that. The people who are out there working alone, how do they feel about AI determining the response that they get? And that's the most important part for us.
And so far, everything we talked about is like frontline type of examples. We do have an awful lot of AI in the back office as well. So for example, some of the developments that we're working on, a customer may send us an email asking for the alarm monitoring hours to be changed from this time to this time, or a different contact to be made. Despite a lot of tenders and stating that they want portals with this feature, this feature, this feature, the reality is when we win the work, most customers take the path of least resistance, and what they do is they make their requests often via WhatsApp message to their account manager, because they find that the most natural, easiest way to do things. Can you download me this video footage from this camera at this time? And then they pass it on to our customer services. Now, yes, all that's available in the portal, but what we're doing with our kind of AI agent side of things is we're making all these kind of back office type requests much easier as well, so that they can just simply ask the question in the same way, in the same natural way that they ask their account manager, and get that instant download the video, updating contact details, copy of the bill. That's another side of our kind of AI strategy as well. So.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you for that. That's the last of my questions, but I'll open it up to the floor if anybody's got any questions for the panel. Yes.
Just the EU AI Act. Somebody had to ask that question. So obviously it's not, directly applicable in the UK, but do you find like if you're looking after workers who are traveling within the EU or whatever, is it a kind of a framework that you have to work to, or can you work outside?
So we're not using AI on the front line of lone worker, but in terms of our CCTV systems, we are as a company moving into Europe. In terms of the use of AI, I'm not a lawyer, and we're paying an awful lot of money to one of the top 5 law firms in the world. So all I can say is that we're being very responsible with our approach, and we've spent an awful lot of money getting that advice. We're having all of that put into our documents.
I could offer, if I could offer an opinion from a BSIA point of view. So the BSIA have worked a lot and continue to work with special interest groups, again, which Orbis is part of. And what we're trying to do is we look at the EU AI Act that was brought in. We contribute significantly to COES and to the UKREiiF, who are bodies that obviously try to govern and bring in these things. We have a lot of industry experts within the BSIA that contribute towards that, and we're currently working within a special interest group to try and, this is an industry that is self-regulated, so it is quite important that while we're self-regulating and self-governing, that we make sure that we get it right, and that's why we have companies like Orbis in there that are leaders and come together to make sure that we do the right things and have the right approach. So we have significantly from our collective within the BSIA contributed to the EU AI Act, and we are collectively continuing to work towards next year. I believe in August 2026 there's going to be some form of AI regulation, and we're working towards that as we speak.
And just on that as well, so the legal advice that we then get back, that gets fed back into our prompt engineering. So they're telling us exactly what we need to specify in terms of what it can and can't do with the information. So we're putting all sorts of safeguarding into that, but we get external advice on exactly how that should be.
So would it be that like that you're kind of working to kind of adhere to it, so by definition it almost becomes the effect of regulation in the UK?
You wish the lawyers were here now, don't you?
Yeah, we leave that to the lawyers, but we work very closely, in terms of our engineering team and legal to make sure that we're taking in their advice.
I think the answer, as I said, we have had a lot of contribution towards the EU AI Act from the UK, and therefore we've tried to get in and help with the governance and the rules and the regs around it, so that it won't be too much of a shock as we go forward and it does at some point get deployed in the UK.
I follow AI quite closely out of curiosity, and it seems like some of the big buzzwords are around agentic AI and vision language models. And as they're saying, 2026 is going to be the year where agents are going to be used a lot in a commercial context. And can you see your systems getting more and more autonomous, where there's maybe 1 or 2 humans in a loop and using a lot of agents?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, the legal advice, again, that we've had so far is that the final decision is always a human decision. But in terms of a lot of self-service type things, using chatbots, they seem to be pretty autonomous, really. Yeah.
I think we're in a world at the moment as well where, and Sean alluded to it earlier, where we're always thinking about what is AI going to take over. So will it be AI agents and so on? But it's interesting when you think about the forum that we're actually sat in now. We're in a small pod of Leeds with circa 13,000 humans who all want to interact with each other, because we still firmly believe that that is the best way to communicate and to work commercially as well. Whilst I might not be particularly forward thinking with a lot of technology personally, I struggle to see a world where that isn't the case. AI is not going to be able to do what we are doing here now. But that's not to say that the more it advances, we can't commercialize those advancements and use them to make our services and any other industry services much better and have a better product overall.
It's that tailored service, so Joe, to offer a tailored service to a handful of customers, you can sort of do it, but when you start to get into thousands of different sites with thousands of different requirements, it becomes very, very difficult. Even with prompting for humans to follow, it becomes very difficult to actually do. AI unlocks that potential for us to offer that tailored approach on a site-by-site, even a camera-by-camera basis. I think the really interesting thing, though, is talking to the people who work in our business who might be affected, so our customer services team, our alarm handlers. None of the tasks that AI is doing are the tasks that the humans want. So it's taking away the mundane tasks. So when a request comes in to download 6 hours of video footage or review 12 hours of video footage to find an incident, I can guarantee there is a sigh in our office, and then the task starts. And it's the same with when the alarm queue, because there might be a storm, so you might just have an increase of alarm activity. Operators are very, very thankful for that kind of AI assistance. Yeah.
Gives the jobs that no one wants to solve.
That's the important thing. And we shouldn't do these things closing our eyes and just think AI is the only way. It's not. It's quite a consultative approach with our staff and our customers.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more?
Right, and I've just got a question. It might be a stupid question, but like you're saying that you avoid like false alarms. So say there's trees and things like that, and cats or dogs or whatever. But generally on sites, when someone's going to break it, they come with a wagon and a high-vis jacket. So how do you distinguish what's real and what's not? Because how do you do that with cars? You can do the ANPR, but with people, what do you do?
It's a good question. Times and movements is a giveaway, but there's another factor why there is a human factor. There's a joke here, by the way, but the people who wear high vis, if they're wearing high vis and trainers, they usually shouldn't be there. On a human level, and not on an AI level, but on a human level, when I've reviewed incidents where people have worn high vis to get onto a construction site, they usually forget about putting their steel toe caps on.
Is that not where, though, you then start using AI to look at the data for those previous times where that scenario has happened that you're trying to prevent? Say, take Sean's example with the trainers, and what AI is particularly good then at looking at what other things were going on there. How can we draw that information out and then program the system almost in reverse to look out for those things? That's where the AI then becomes really useful, because the humans telling it and guiding it to look out for those things that otherwise they would have been doing by eye.
If there was as an example, the AI is this smart, but if there is somebody in high vis at 3 o'clock in the morning by themselves and there are no other workers on the site, the system is smart enough that it goes, that's not right. And it's actually remarkably smart. So from when we first started to test it, I was really surprised how good it actually got it versus a human. And even myself, even though I've got the benefit of hindsight, so often when I'm looking at things that we're training into the system, I'm looking at something with hindsight, and hindsight is a massive factor. And even with that, the AI got it better than I did. And it's quite often, and don't get me wrong, it's a bit like self-driving cars. AI will make mistakes, but from my experience so far, it makes less mistakes than a human. But that's why we use them together.
In terms of trainers and managers, they always do make a difference. But I've had people ranking into nuclear worker with the white suits or the others, so And
on a site-by-site basis as well, that's why we then build so we started off with a real simple persona of a security guard, and we realized actually the system needed more context. So a bit like if you're human, every time you think of AI like a human, if I give you a stack of images as a human and ask you to do something with that, but I didn't give you any context or the objective, your ability to make decisions isn't going to be as strong as if I told you what the objective was. So we've further developed our system now to be able to give an objective. So if for example, it was a nuclear site, then its tolerance level to anybody being there out of hours, it would see anybody as a higher risk. Whereas, for example, if you put AI in a public park, it would see people moving at night at a lower risk unless they were, for example, wearing a balaclava. But we're not having to say all of this. We're quite open in our kind of prompts, but the system is smart enough to, fill in the gaps. Yeah.
Do you do facial recognition?
Not at the moment. We've taken the legal advice and we've reviewed it, and number plate recognition and everything else. It is something that we, for the convenience of the customer, so being able to disarm and stuff, it's something that we're exploring. So we've got a proof of concept technology, but it's not something we yet deployed until we've finished kind of the legal review of it. But it'll be probably by by consent. So for example, your number plate will be in the system so that you don't have to open up the app and disarm the site or call the alarm receiving centre. The system will see you, it'll recognise you, and it'll, for your convenience, do that. Again though, if that's something that you wanted to opt into.
Yeah, just but lastly, so when we have sites and we've got CCTV, you have to put signage up to say CCTV on site. Do you have signage that says AI generated?
Yeah. So the legal advice is to have that, yeah. And also we actually think that's more powerful as well in terms of
It's a good deterrence, isn't it?
yeah, prevention is better than cure. Joe, that deterrent. So there's products on the market that are DNA, forensic DNA, like gels and greases that mark people. We think that having AI signage sends out a very powerful message to people, and it acts as a good deterrent.
That's where the sort of fear and unknown elements of AI actually benefit us, because, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so some great questions there. Thank you. Any further questions? No. Listen, this is a topic that really is close to my heart, and as I said, I was privileged to be asked by Orbis to come and compare this. I could get into discussions about the ethical deployment of stuff and talk all day long. But I think the key thing here is, I wrote down a few key aspects of this when you listen to the panel. You know, you listen to the stuff that Orbis are doing. The fact they opened with the fact that they've managed using AI to reduce alarms by 60 to 70% of false alarm rates. So that's a phenomenal step forward. And the fact that they are consultative with their clients, they build trust, balance cost versus the competency and capability of the system as well, are all key things that I think have shone for me personally whilst we've been talking. So I'd just like to thank the panel for inviting me along. Thank you for your answers and openness. Thank you to the audience for your questions as well. And I'll hand back to Paul.